Hi. So for my book report, I did Boys Adrift, The Five Factors Driving the Growing Epidemic of Unmotivated Boys by Leonard Sachs. Try saying that 5 times fast. The book was actually published on August 14th, 2007. I actually read my book from books.google since I was unable to go into the library during the whole outbreak situation. But just to give you a brief rundown, it's 8 separate chapters and it's broken down to 227 pages from the intro to the end of chapter 8. So just like the reading part, not the notes or the index in the back. So the book is about the author Sachs, who is somebody who talks to parental groups and to schools about the 5 factors that he believes is the cause for the lack of motivation amongst boys. The book is different from anything I've ever read because there's no single main character, there's no plot. It's just everything's based off his research and based off his personal experience. So he basically like presents what he believes and then speaks minimally. Actually, he lets the parents talk and the parents like and basically answer each other's questions because they find out that a lot of them are having like the same issues like with their children. And then at the end of the book, he actually offers solutions to what he believes can help fix the epidemic. The sources, the first hand is the interaction he has with the parents, and through his talks, he actually says that the hardest part is the questions after the fact, not so much the presentation and the preparation for his talks. This book has a lot of memorable moments and stories that are shared by the parents throughout his talk. So I chose two that I feel were the most memorable and spoke the most about the five issues with the epidemic. So the first one's actually in the very beginning of the book. I feel the most memorable, and it was about a boy named Billy who scores really high on IQ tests, and he's just a really smart guy. During his free time, he likes to read. He quotes Lord of the Rings just because he can, basically, and he can even memorize poems in Elvish. But when it comes to school, he just doesn't care. He doesn't care if he gets an A, a B, an F, and he's only in the 6th grade. So Billy's father goes to the school counselor and asks him what's going on, like what can I do and stuff. And the counselor suggests that Billy has ADD, and this is impossible to Billy's father because, as I mentioned, he can quote poems in Elvish and he reads cover to cover Lord of the Rings, which is at a high reading level, such for somebody in the 6th grade. So during one of the talks, um, this is actually brought up to Sachs, and Sachs admits he doesn't really know how to respond to this. The second one that I chose was a father claims that schools have become feminized. The only man in his son's school is actually the school janitor, and he claims that schools don't allow boys to be boys anymore. Doing what boys do now actually gets them in trouble. Sachs shares a story of when he was in elementary school, how during the winter he would have snowball fights at schools, and even the teachers would join in, and they'd even do like teachers versus students, like snowball fights. But in today's society, like somebody would sue somebody for assault on their child with a snowball. Um, yeah, for whatever reason. But anyways, the 5 factors that Sachs believes grew this epidemic and is responsible for it are the changes in schools today, video games, medication for ADHD, um, endocrine disruptors, and a lack of a proper male role model in a child's life. The first one, a change in schools. Nowadays, schools are more electronically done, and they're more like, here, read this, and then do this. Therefore, it changes like their reading response to it. When that Sachs suggests that they should take a different approach to learn through experience, and that's how he feels is the best way to learn. The best way to learn something is when you get put through it. The second factor is video games. He argues that video games have replaced going outside and experiencing the nature aspect, and there's 4 times more obese kids today than there were just a generation ago, and these can lead to the obesity can lead to emotions like change in emotions, depression, self-isolation, and can increase aggression levels, and it can also change your behavior. Third one is the medication for ADHD. The medication itself is actually the problem. Just because one kid is hyper or can't stop talking in class, they automatically assume there's something wrong with him. They try to find a cure to, if you will, to help find a solution. The medications are actually causing damage, and they can corrupt areas of the brain responsible for drive and motivation. Sachs's main claim is that the medication of ADHD is not for their best interest. It's for the interest of the teachers or for parents who are just trying to make their lives easier. And just because it worked for one child that you heard of, now you think it's going to be the solution for everyone, and that's not the case. Um, the fourth factor is endocrine disruptors. Endocrine disruptors are environmental chemicals that interfere with the hormone system in the body, and these are found like on plastics and compounds that are in our everyday lives. They are associated in extreme cases of ADHD, cognitive and brain development issues. And then from pregnancy, we are basically given a plastic bottle, which can lead to children growing up on altered timelines, later start on puberty, and an increase in mood swings. Lastly, a lack of appropriate male role model. Sachs wasn't really talking about a father figure in this. He was basically talking about how kids need several male role models in their life in order to pave their so that they can pave their own path. So they don't just follow what their father does. They get a piece from him. They get a piece from their neighbor or a piece from their high school basketball coach, whatever. Like different role models like can help that child create their own path and their own opportunities, not just follow in one person's footsteps. Um, he cites the fact that in the U.S., roughly one third of children are born to unmarried mothers, and only 1 in 4 households are made up of married couples with one or more children. In other words, Sachs believed that in order to become a man, a boy must see a man. However, yeah. Lastly, he believes that the guidance of adults is becoming less and less, and that kids are being guided more by their peers or people that they look up to rather than an appropriate male figure. And then his solutions, he comes up with a few solutions at the end of his novel. Um, Including ones that we've all heard of: diet, exercise, changes in like the educational philosophies and practices. But he also comes up with other solutions, such as considering starting boys in kindergarten a year later than usual, limiting their screen time, drinking from glass rather than plastic, and looking for all boys school education. But however, these weren't even his main solutions. His main solution was getting involved in your child's life, being that positive role model for them. You know, the kids, a lot of them who are misled, don't have the proper adulthood, the proper role models in their life, and if we don't take action now, then the epidemic is only going to get worse. So for me, I really enjoyed this book. I would give it a thumbs up, and I think that is something that should not only one student should read in developmental psychopathology, but that it should be required. This book talks about an issue that we are having that we face today. Nowadays, kids from such a young age are sitting in front of a TV screen. Actually, it was I have cousins who sit there for 10, 11 hours a day, just sit there playing games, don't play sports. They don't do anything. And this is such a big problem in today's society. We rely so much on technology, and nowadays people don't know how to pump their own gas, how to start a fire. You know, there's so many like natural responses that we don't get out of kids in today's generation that we did in the generations before. So I think it's something that if we don't fix now, it's only going to get worse. Thank you.